The Celtics turned things around, get a win in Cleveland, and it's all because they got aggressive. We're going to talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
I'm so hyped right now. Anything's possible. I'm on mama. I'm on my lady, ma. Anything's possible.
Yeah. Rain and Jay's back with the vengeance. All the real Celtics fans in attendance. This the truth like 34. This like walking in the garden when you hear the roars. The crowd goes crazy. Most in-depth coverage on the daily. Mainly podcast royalty, the content kings. When you talking about the franchise with 17 rings. Focus like Danny at the deadline. Global with it, got a local feel like the red line, the blue line, the green line. Play it in between time. I'ma throw my C's jersey on in the meantime and press play. When the F's done, I can't wait until the next day. Trying to stay in tune with the C's, that's the best way. Melly.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day and part of your daily routine. We're here for you Monday through Friday. It is free and available everywhere podcasts exist, so make sure you are listening to, subscribing to, and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast on YouTube. You can get every episode at LockedOnCeltics.com. Today's show is brought to you by Rock Auto. It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com. Visit them. Tell them Locked On sent you. Celtics get a 98-92 win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not an easy game. This Cleveland Cavaliers team is a tough team, but, look, Celtics did what they had to do. This is almost like an inverse of the loss the other day. Celtics were up 20-9 in that loss. They were down 20-9 in this one. The fourth quarter was just putrid for the Celtics. The first quarter was putrid for the Celtics in this one. But after all of that crap in the first quarter, the story of this game was the aggressiveness that the Celtics showed in the second half, especially, Jayson Tatum, who really started to get downhill, as they say. Instead of settling for a ton of fadeaways, he still took three-pointers and stuff, but he was really getting to the rim. When I wrote the piece a few days ago, about Tatum attacking and using that attack to create assist opportunities, this was the type of play that I was talking about. It goes all the way back to the Dallas game. By the way, I'm John Karalis. I cover the team for Boston Sports Journal, and I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, which you can buy everywhere books are sold. The piece that I wrote is on Boston Sports Journal. Everything I write is on Boston Sports Journal. But the Celtics started to really get aggressive in the second half. And the quote from Ime Udoka was, "I told them at halftime, I felt like we were in mud offensively especially. We guarded well enough again. They only had 39, but we only had 37. So we really emphasized playing faster, freed it up, called less plays in the second half, and that was the difference." So Ime taking like a step back as far as plays to call and just really forcing these guys, hey, look, get out there, get downhill, push the ball, push the issue. And it really, I think, turned a corner when Marcus Smart started attacking in the second half. He really kind of pushed the offense into the attack mode that they were supposed to be in. There was no Jarrett Allen in this game. Evan Mobley was out. I don't know if he got hurt or he just wasn't playing well. He was 0 for 11 in this game. And he hasn't been fully consistently great in every one of these games, but he's been pretty good this season. So an 0 for 11 game from him is a little bit out of the ordinary in the early going. But the Celtics, once he was out, and like I said, no Jarrett Allen, it took a few plays for them to really kind of understand, like, this is what you have. You have a big, wide open basket there, and if you keep attacking, these guys can't stay in front of you. I think Marcus Smart really started to solidify that attacking mode. He was 6 of 13 in this game. Again, first quarter was the problem. He didn't start shooting well, and I thought, this is going to be a game where Marcus Smart's kind of, he was really taking a lot of shots early. In fact, if I filter out the stats here to the first quarter, 1 of 4, 1 of 3 from 3, a -3 on the game, a couple of assists in the first quarter. But then for the rest of the game, if you look actually in the second half, Marcus Smart, 4 of 6 overall, no 3-point attempts, 3 assists, +7, 9 points. That was perfect Marcus Smart. Like that second half was exactly, I think, what everybody would love to get from Marcus Smart. Keep attacking. Don't worry about the 3-point shot. Just keep going and push the issue. He and Schröder were fantastic in the second half. I mean, that they really kind of led that charge in the second half. Schröder, 3 of 4 in the second half, 4 free throws, an assist, 1 turnover, only 1 turnover in the second half for Schröder. I cannot begin to stress how poorly he was playing in the first half. Like, I don't even know if he was borderline unplayable in the first half. And then the second half came around. He kind of settled in and joined in the attacking fun. Like I said, Tatum was the guy who really kind of, I think, people will focus on. But that constant attack, I think the message should be getting through to these guys. Like, it's pretty clear to me at this point that the more aggressive the Celtics are, just the better that they play. And look, that I think would be mostly true of every team, but some teams can get away from being a little more passive, a little bit more jump shooty. I mean, that can work for some teams, but not the Celtics. The Celtics need to push. And I think it's at some point here, Tatum and everybody else has to look at the evidence. I've said this before, but you keep going into the film session, you keep going into the film, and you keep saying, yeah, we're going to watch film, we're going to get better. Well, what does the film keep telling you? When you attack, when you get to the rim, when you get into the paint, good things happen. And especially for Tatum, but for everybody. Now, that's kind of Schröder's default to get into the paint, but he still settles for jump shots from time to time. And I think just in general, when the ball just moves around the perimeter, you hear Scal talking about this a bunch on the games. When the ball can be passed around the perimeter and be fine. Like that's fine. You go side to side and all of that. They talk about Al Horford doing a great job of getting the ball out of one side of the floor, going side to side and say, okay, I'm going to move the ball this way now. So at least the defense has to move. And that's great. Yes, side to side movement, but really, when you're going side to side and it's just going around the perimeter, the defense is just kind of shifting this way and then kind of shifting that way. And then it's not doing anything. It's not working hard. When you attack and get into the middle of the paint, then kick, then you go side to side, now you've got something. Because when you drive, you collapse the defense. And then you kick, and now 2 guys react, or people overreact, and then swing, the ball goes to the other side. Now everybody's head is now facing, they become like little kids in youth basketball. Everybody just starts watching the ball. That's when you now get backdoor cuts. That's when you get the ability to break things down. Just passing the ball around the perimeter, that's okay. It's better than the ball not moving, but attacking, getting into the middle, collapsing, and then kick, swing, like that's your poetry for the Celtics. That's your mantra. That's the chorus to your song. You know, paint, touch, kick, swing. Paint, touch, kick, swing. That's all you need to know for the Celtics. Attack. I will say there was a little bit of luck involved here for the Celtics. There was a play there with less than 2 minutes. The Cavs were making their move. I have to highlight this because these are the breaks that kind of swing games. Denzel Valentine hits a corner three-pointer. It was 88-87 at the time. It would have made it 90-88 with less than 2 minutes to go. That was a massive three-pointer, except Valentine was standing on the sideline. He stepped out of bounds, and the Celtics, Schröder, immediately, it was like 2 baskets and assist to Al Horford. The end of the game was basically Schröder, Horford pick and roll, and Tatum standing in the corner. Another game here where down the stretch, game on the line, they go with Schröder as the ball handler and Tatum off the ball. which is wild because earlier in the season, it was Tatum on ball and everybody's space and Jaylen kind of standing off in the corner. I wonder when Jaylen comes back how this is going to go. Are you going to have Jaylen and Jayson kind of spaced out with Schröder playing pick and roll with Horford? And then is that your closing play? Is that what you do? It worked against Cleveland. I'm just very curious about that. I'm not sure how that manifests itself moving forward. But shouts to Schröder for basically a 6-2 run, scoring twice and an assist to Horford there after that kind of lucky play where Valentine stepped out of bounds. But it was all basically attack. If you can get to the rim, and the Celtics got to the rim a bunch. Now, when I come back, I'll talk about some of the individuals in this game. And then later in the third segment, I'm going to talk about how the Celtics are still set up to come out of November pretty much where they should be. After all of this, after everything that's happened, the Celtics are still kind of set up to end November sort of where they should be. That's kind of wild. But we'll get to the individuals when we come back after this. First, I got to tell you about Theragun. Now, you might see some athletes on the sidelines using a device that's kind of like hammering into their legs. That's what Theragun is. It's a percussive therapy device, but you don't have to be an elite athlete. You could be somebody like me who's just trying to, maybe you go to the gym a few days a week, or maybe you're just sitting in the chair all day long at the computer. It doesn't matter. This Theragun, a handheld percussive therapy device, it releases your deepest muscle tension no matter who you are, where it is. It's as quiet as an electric toothbrush. The Gen 4 Theragun doesn't just feel good, it goes to the source of the pain. By releasing tension and using the signature percussive therapy, it goes 60% deeper than vibration alone. It's got an OLED screen in a design that makes you feel like you're holding something from the future. And if you go to their site and you check it out, their Theragun app learns from your behavior and actually suggests guided routines. It's really great to get that deep penetration in your percussive therapy to really release that lactic acid and get yourself free of, if you're working out, all of that soreness, or just to release that tension, get a good massage for yourself. You can't afford the massages, you got that Theragun, boom, you're giving yourself a massage with the Theragun. Try it for 30 days, starting at only $199. Go to therabody.com/lockedon right now to get your Gen 4 Theragun today. That's therabody.com/lockedon, therabody.com/lockedon. Hey, thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Why not make the Locked On NBA podcast your second listen every day, covering the entire league? We got a rotating set of hosts. I host on Wednesdays with Jake Madison of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. So make sure you're subscribed to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube. Some individuals here that need to be highlighted here, and it's got to start with Al Horford, who was fantastic in this. Al Horford in this game was 7 of 10 overall, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Aside from getting switched onto Rubio and Ricky Rubio kind of, not having his way, but he wanted that matchup with Al Horford, and Al Horford struggled a little bit with that for sure. But also Rubio hit some crazy shots. Like that one play where he isolated Al Horford, and Horford was staying there, was playing great defense, was swiping, I thought he was going to steal the ball, and then Rubio just hits that step back 3-pointer. I was like, gee, what? Rubio was going off. Rubio, people have asked me about Ricky Rubio, and I was like, no, he's generally a net negative. He's not usually a positive on the floor. And I guess in this one you could say the same thing because he was a -7 in this game, but he still, at the end, was the reason why they were even within striking distance. The Cavs are good. They're not gonna be. They might not even be a playoff team. They might be a play-in team when it's all said and done because they're still young and maybe the magic runs out. But they're not gonna just roll over and die. Rubio's playing great. Darius Garland is playing great. Evan Mobley, we've talked about when Jared Allen comes back. I mean, he's a factor. they're getting huge plays. Even Jetty Osman was playing amazing, 6 of 12 from three. That's a team that you got to go beat. Al Horford was instrumental in beating them. He had a huge answer. So Rubio, after he hits that three, Horford is almost like pissed off. He came down the other end, immediately got the ball, and was just like, "Nope, I'm getting those 3 points back." I mean, that was like a real answer 3-pointer from Horford. And like I said, he ran pick and roll with Schröder at the end down the stretch. It was effective. They really Cleveland had no answer at the rim for these guys. So it made sense. I brought up the whole Tatum standing in the corner thing. It made sense for them to run pick and roll and attack the basket with it because Cleveland had nothing. Now, you could have run it with Tatum if you wanted to, but Schröder and Horford have that connection, which is why I always kind of want to pair those two up. But I thought Horford was really, really good. I do have to mention that Horford got a lot of playing time there. Enes Kanter had to get some playing time, which was also not bad. Like I get on Enes Kanter's case, and I see people kind of joking around with my Q&A last week about Kanter. But look, he played 8 minutes. There were some stretches there in the early part of the 8 minutes where it was like, oh, okay, how long is this going to last? But, I characterize it as if they were surviving those minutes. But he actually, look, he hit a couple of shots. There was a play where Tatum, I think, was trying to throw the ball off of somebody's foot, and it actually got through to Kanter, and he laid it in. Goes down as an assist for Tatum, but I don't think that was intentional. 8 minutes of critical time. The reason I bring that up is because Robert Williams left the game at halftime with soreness in his left knee. Now, Udoka was asked about it after the game. He initially was like, yeah, some soreness. He'll be fine. And then somebody on the Zoom who didn't realize the question had been asked in person asked again. And then Ime was like, yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. He had a sharp pain. We're like, oh, wait a minute, sharp pain? You didn't say anything about a sharp pain before. So I don't know how serious this is. They were downplaying it. So I'm going to be more hopeful and say that maybe he'll be available for the Atlanta Hawks game on Wednesday. But at this point, I don't know. They're going to get it looked at, and we'll see. Hoping for the best, but it's another injury on the left side for Robert Williams. It was always the left hip. It was the left, even when he had the foot issues in the playoffs, it was his left ankle, his left foot. So that left side, I'm not a big fan of how that went down. So we'll see if it's just soreness or if it's something more to that. But Enes Kanter played 8 minutes, and it was a decent enough 8 minutes where it's like, okay, that was good. I mentioned Marcus Smart. He was huge. His defense needs to be highlighted, as it always is, but he was really good early on, even though he was shooting too much, and I didn't like what he was doing a lot offensively as far as his looking for his own shot. His defense was huge, and got Jayson Tatum a couple of breakaway dunks. I got another one for Romeo where I think he got fouled. His defense was fantastic. Grant Williams, underrated aspect to this game is Grant Williams in the first half shot 3 of 6 from 3. The Celtics offense was so bad in the first half. They were really at risk. Like 37 points was like a huge recovery for the Celtics. And part of that huge recovery was Grant, who was back to hitting 3-point. He had gone through a long drought. He hit a couple in the last game. The 3 that he hit in this game were just gigantic. Again, I'll bring it up. Clutch baskets don't have to come in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. Those 3-pointers from Grant were clutch to keep the Celtics close enough where they could figure it out. And that was a really, really important stretch for Grant Williams. A couple of the bad, just to wrap up this segment quickly. Aaron Nesmith, hate to say it, but Aaron Nesmith struggled again. 0 of 2 from 3. After the game, you saw the video of him back out on the floor. Like he goes into the locker room, he basically just takes his shirt off, comes out with the warm up like tank top, and starts shooting and is getting shots up. He's clearly struggling. I think he's struggling with his confidence a little bit. He made some defensive mistakes. It wasn't that he was terrible, but you could see after he made another mistake defensively that Ime, like I watched Ime sub in Romeo Langford, and he basically was just like, get him out. Like he was very adamant about, like, I'd seen enough, get him out. And I'm sure at some point he's going to be like wondering, why the hell are these reporters asking about Aaron Nesmith all the time when he's very obviously, he had one good game against Miami and he's kind of struggling the rest of the way. Again, I'll bring it up. Just if in this home stretch there's an opportunity to get him to Maine on an off night to just go play 30 minutes, I say do it. I say get him out there and just let him play a full basketball game. Do whatever you need to do to get him some full basketball minutes. At this point, he needs to clear his head and get back into what Aaron Nesmith does. He's better than what he's been playing. I know he's better than what he's been playing. We've seen him be better. And that's why people have been asking about him. Peyton Pritchard, struggling again. Five minutes, really didn't do anything. He's another one. Like, he needs to get out there and play and get some confidence. I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics took an opportunity. Like, they'll need him. They'll need both those guys in Atlanta. Those guys might still play. We don't know if Jaylen Brown's coming back. There was some talk about him maybe coming back in this one. He wasn't ready. He went through pregame stuff. He went through an off-day workout. Not ready yet. Maybe he'll be ready against Atlanta. Maybe he'll be ready for the Lakers game. But we're right about 2 weeks, and there was some chatter about him being ready for this game. So hopefully Jaylen's back and the Celtics can be a little more whole. I also should mention Josh Richardson. I don't want to let his contributions go because he had some real important minutes in the second half as well. So that's the game. Now, what about where the Celtics are? They're 7-7, and they still have the ability to come out of November basically where they're supposed to be. And after all of this, that's kind of wild that they're even in a position to do that. I'm going to talk about that next. First, I got to tell you about Rock Auto, which is the best place to go for anything you need for your car or truck or motorcycle or RV. Whatever it is, complicated or simple, floor mats or windshield wipers or pieces of an engine that when I look at it, I don't know what's going on under there, but maybe you do. And you want to save a ton of money, 30 to 50 to even 100% more from what you would get at Auto Parts, one of those chain stores or a dealership. So I've talked to a few people. I know I mentioned Jake Madison, who co-hosts Locked On NBA with me. He's a car guy, and he's gotten a lot of stuff from Rock Auto, and he says it saved him a ton of money. So I would encourage you to go to rockauto.com. It's a family business. They've been doing this for more than 20 years, helping do-it-yourselfers, make sure that you get the right deal. Look, maybe you're trying to save a few bucks. There are bargain options. Maybe you're willing to spend for the certain thing. There are premium options. It's all there. So check out rockauto.com. Make sure when you do buy something that you write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box at the checkout. That's the only way they know that we sent you. So please write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. BetOnline is back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of basketball season, more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head over to the new updated desktop or mobile website. Sign up with the promo code Locked On. You'll get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Whatever you put in there on your first deposit with the promo code Locked On, 50% added as a welcome bonus from football to basketball to NHL, whatever, Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for this 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Hey, thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Why not make your second listen the Locked On Bets podcast? It's your daily one-stop shop For all your gambling needs, it's Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. They're on a bit of a heater, man. They really are on fire with their picks. So check them out wherever podcasts exist or on YouTube. All right, so the Celtics now come out of this game 7-7. They've played 14 games, and it's basically 17% of their season. They have been disappointing. They have been infuriating. There's been a lot of confusion from them, from us, from what the hell is going on here. Not sure what Ime Udoka is doing sometimes. How much of this is experimentation? How much of this is just part of his coaching philosophy? Still not 100% sure because it's only been 14 games. He's a rookie coach. This is a new team. We don't know what the hell is going on, right? Amazingly, the Celtics are in a position to finish this month out and be kind of where we thought they would be. The Celtics, with their early struggles, we still thought like, hey, this is a team that on the low end could be like 5, 6, 7. On the high end could be 3, 4, somewhere around that range. At 7-7, they are in the 10th spot right now. And it's too early for like actual standings, but they are in that mix right now. But when you look at everything and zoom out, they're 3.5 games out of first. Like it's when we talk about it's early, like it's so early that even the worst swings, maybe not the Pelicans, but the worst swings that teams can have can easily be fixed if a few things come together, right? The Celtics have not been whole. They have played a bunch of games here without Jaylen Brown. There's still obviously different combinations in there. Dennis Schröder's been a starter for a while. Then he's going to go back to the bench, which when Jaylen comes back, Schröder is going back to the bench. Udoka confirmed that. But the Celtics sit here 3.5 games out of first. So that's how close they still are. They have the New York Knicks at 8-6. The Celtics are at 7-7. So one win by the Celtics, one loss by the Knicks. Boom, that's it. The Charlotte Hornets only have one more win than the Celtics. They have 7 losses, and they're in the 8th seed right now. The Celtics are actually in a position. Here's their schedule moving forward. They have Atlanta on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, home back-to-back. Lakers, who just got blown out by Memphis. OKC, who's winning some games, but they're built to lose. Then on Monday, this is a 4-game homestand. Lakers, OKC back-to-back. On Monday, Houston, bad team. Celtics have already beaten them. Brooklyn on that Wednesday, the night before Thanksgiving. That's obviously going to be a tough game no matter what. Then that Friday, they go to San Antonio. And then the 28th, they go to Toronto. That's the end of the November schedule. That's not bad. 3 more road games, 4 games at home. Atlanta, struggling. They've won a couple of games in a row right now, but they've been struggling early. That's a winnable game. Lakers, like I said, just got blown out. They don't know what the hell they're doing sometimes. That's a winnable game. OKC's winnable. Houston's winnable. Let's forget about Brooklyn. Let's just say that that's not. San Antonio, struggling. 4-9 or something like that right now. Toronto, we've seen Toronto twice already. The Celtics have beaten them. Look at this realistically. The games that they should win: OKC, San Antonio, and Houston. That's 3 out of those games. Then you've got the formula for beating Toronto. So you beat Toronto again, that's 4. All you need to do is win one of those games: Atlanta, LA, and Brooklyn after that. And you're 5-2 over that stretch. And now suddenly you're 12-9. And that's probably good enough for like 5th in the East going into December. If the Celtics outperform that, then great. But that's a realistic possibility. And I'm not even sit here and argue that, they can do that stuff, because it's not even the point. It's not even the point that whether I think they will or they won't, or we can argue and you can be in the comments of the YouTube page and be like, you're an idiot for even thinking that they can. It's not even the point. Whether you think they can or they can't, it's not the point. The fact is that they are in a position to even do that. because it's so early that even after the disappointing start, that they can still look at this schedule and be like, yeah, we got 4 games at home. You can even say, win our home games, win one of those road games, and it's still 5-2. However you want to split it up. Now, they haven't been great at home so far. That, I think, is just kind of a function of what they were going through. But it's still theoretically possible here. Why can't you beat OKC and Houston and San Antonio? Why can't you beat Toronto again? Why can't you beat one of Atlanta, LA, and Brooklyn? Especially because Atlanta and LA are disappointing right now as well. So there's an opportunity to take one of those games. Jaylen Brown is hopefully coming back somewhere here, maybe even as soon as Wednesday. Tatum has been shown the path to how to be effective, and it's attacking, and they can still he can still turn it around a little bit here. If Robert Williams is okay and he can play in these games, then it's not out of the question. Here's the one stat that's really going to hammer this point home to me. The Celtics in their first 7 games, that takes you up until the Chicago collapse. They come out of that game, 2-5? They have the 25th ranked defense after that Chicago collapse. Marcus Smart says what he says. Everybody's losing their minds. Then they go on the road. Orlando, Miami, Dallas. They lose that Dallas game, disappointing. But they go on a stretch there where they go 5-2. And they have the league's best defense in that 7-game stretch. First 7 games, 25th ranked defense. 5th from the bottom is horrible. Second 7 games, best. Like absolute, like 97, 97 defensive rating. 97 points per 100 possessions. That's like, if they could do that for an entire season, it'd be a historically good defense. That's obviously not sustainable either. But point is, the swings at this point of the season are so wild that even through all of our yelling and screaming and consternation and all of that stuff, the Celtics are still in a position to come together, put together that little 5-2 stretch where things are starting to be a little bit more positive. And all of a sudden, if you go into December and you say, oh, well, the Celtics have climbed into the 5th seed. Well, all right. If I told you before the season started, the Celtics will go into December about the 5th seed, you'd be like, okay, yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Nobody cares how you got there, just the fact that you're there. And if the Celtics can work through some of the things and still get there, then great. So, whole point of that segment is it's still possible. It's for everything that people have been losing their minds over, just a little decent stretch. And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, we're good. And then what's going to end up happening? If things go well the rest of the way, it's entirely possible that I can write a story in March that will gloss over this entire thing that we're losing our minds over. And I'll say, like, after a slow start in October and the middle of November, the Celtics picked it up and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's when you zoom out, that's all this is going to end up being if the Celtics can pick it up and put it together and play some really good defense and figure out their offense and get a passable offense together. That's when we look down the road, that's going to be the line that just encompasses all of this craziness of the past few weeks. It's wild. So, Celtics, one more game to cover this week on the podcast, and then I'll cover the LA and OKC games starting next week. So, plenty to talk about all week long. Please, if you are new to the show, subscribe if you have not. If you are a regular listener or watcher, please spread the word. Tell everybody about the YouTube page. I'd love to have people watching on the YouTube page. Super important. That's the next big thing, and why I'm sitting here constantly tweaking my shots and the backgrounds and all of that stuff. So please share the podcast and tell your friends, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.